What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Horror Fiend. I'm Jeff. With me today is Bethany.
Hello.
Um, First off, it's sad because we're no longer in October. Fuck that, it sucks. Um, Hope you guys enjoyed the two movies that were the Halloween franchise worst to best. It was fun recording them. I was getting a little nerdy, so I apologize. No, I don't. Um, But yeah, today, guys, is something we were supposed to film in October, but we're going to go ahead and do it right now. And it's a new thing we're doing. It's a top 10. It's not a worst to best or anything else. This is simply just a top 10. And we're doing Survivor persons. I want to be politically correct. I don't want nobody, it's ma'am or, something like that. Survivor guys and girls. So it's the latter. It's everybody. If they're a survivor, this is our top 10 as far as survivor peoples go. So, starting off at number 10, we have The Losers Club. If you guys don't know what that's from for some reason, we're talking about the original It plus chapter 1 and 2 of the remakes. We're talking about Ben and Beverly and Billy and Beep Beep Richie and Stan, the whole clan, all of them, even though, Stan who committed suicide and all that crap. But they do deserve to be on this list because they do beat that clown's ass two different times, which is fucking impressive for a bunch of kids first. And then to go back like fucking 20 whatever years later and go whoop his ass all over again, the majority of them anyway. I mean, it's pretty damn cool to think about. What say you, Bethany?
I think it's really impressive as kids that they did that.
Yeah.
So that was a fun part because, well, kind of kids, right? They're like, yeah, still young enough to be terrified with all the scenes and everything. I think they were bigger chickens when they were adults than they were kids. So I'm
Seemed
gonna
like it.
go more for the kids. Seems
I,
like
I
the
like.
kids had a little more guts.
I agree. I like the kids as well. I think the kids. I mean, because you don't expect the kids to beat the clown. The adults seem more like okay, yeah, they should beat him, but it's cool to see it. It's cool to see how they work together. It's cool to see that they are a good unit together as kids. And when they were kids, it was all of them. As they got older, one of them decided to chicken out like the worst way possible by killing himself, and so kind of weakened them a little bit, but in the end, I mean, these kids literally both times in when they were children and when they were adults, they not only had to go against Pennywise, but they also had to go against fucking what the hell's the name of that mullet motherfucker? Um,
The bully when he was a kid, the big old bully that was like torturing everybody, grew
yeah,
up to be, just as much as of a douchebag as he was when he was a kid.
yeah, man. They have to go against so much shit, and it's really cool. And then the fact like Pennywise is fucking with them when they're little. He's like feeding off their fears and toying with their emotions and shit. And seeing these kids being able to get through all that and be able to beat him is just fucking awesome. So that's why the Losers Club comes in at the number 10 slot. And then
Wait,
Bethany.
I thought
Uh,
this was
uh,
no particular order. We're
it's
just
te-
all our favorites.
it's a top 10. That's all it is. It's just a top 10. So we're just like we're going through like just however we come up with them, we're
We're
just going
going
through.
through it, but the next
It's
one is a
nothing's
top
worst.
one for me.
It's
It's a
nothing.
top one for me.
Well, yeah, I know. Like I said, and just to clarify, in case I didn't clarify already, people, this is a top 10. There is no best or worst. It's just top 10 because there's a lot of Survivor people and all that. So yeah, just a top 10. This is just a list of 10 people or groups or whatever that we think are in here. So coming in at number 9, go ahead, Beth.
Her would be higher is Nancy Thompson. I'm a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan. Everybody knows that. I love Nightmare on Elm Street, and this is one of my favorite survivors. Okay, she's pretty badass. Even as a teenager, she was pretty badass. So yeah, there's a little bit of, she got a little scary, but gets a book and starts doing this whole survivalist guide thing and sets up a bunch of booby traps and stuff. Like, that's pretty awesome. So she's one of my top favorites.
Definitely,
And then
man.
comes back in Dream Warriors and, as an adult and as equally badass. And I love it because she's kind of like a, how do I put it?
Trainer.
She's a stubborn, like kind of like a stubborn brat. That's why they call them the Elm Street brats, because she kind of is bratty. Because even when she comes back, she's already challenging. She's already like, "What's up? Let's go." And she's like, "Oh, you." So she's ready to go, and that's what I like. And then she helps all the kids, kind
Trains
of
them for
learn.
Freddy.
So that one is one of my favorites, Nancy Thompson from Nightmare on Elm Street.
And Nancy's awesome. She, like I said, she's one of the originals. I would say like maybe one of the 3 originals from that time frame. And but no, she's awesome. She's the first female. She's the first person, I should say. It's not just females, but she's the first person to learn how to beat Freddy Krueger, and that's badass. Is because back then you're going against something that none of us would know how to fucking handle. None of us would know how to fight it, and she just figures it out. She uses wits, figures out, hey, I could bring his hat out. I could probably bring him out, and she uses Freddy's weakness against him with fire, which is fucking cool. She was very innovative. Like I said, she was the first person, just like Wes Craven says in New Nightmare, because she's a New Nightmare too. They bring her back, and in New Nightmare, Wes Craven says like you were the first person to realize who he was, and she was like Freddy and like evil, like a fucking demon, and so it's cool. It's cool that you know she was able to do all that shit. She set the groundwork for what was to come, because even in Nightmare 2, with the main characters in that, Jesse and all that shit, they find a book that Nancy wrote, and they read her diary, and that's how they learn too. That's how they learn how to fight him, how to go against him. So it's like Nancy's the reason like other people were able to beat Freddy, because in part 2 she was the reason technically. In part 3 she trains these kids and gets them ready for this. She dies in part 3, which sucks. They bring her back in New Nightmare, but the fact that she trained these kids to get them all ready was really fucking cool. So that's why she's deserving in the top 10's list, definitely, hands down. If she's not in a top 10 list, then it's not really a top 10 list for survivors, in my opinion, because she should definitely be in there. Um, Anything else you have to say about Nancy Thompson?
Oh, no, I think we covered it.
Awesome. Then coming in at what would be like number 8 slot, no particular order, it's just a list, is Kirsty Cotton from the Hellraiser franchise. Kirsty, for those who don't know, she's not only in 1 and 2. I know a lot of people don't watch past Inferno, but she's actually in the movie right after Inferno, which I believe is called Hellseeker. And I mean, you gotta like, we talk about Nancy's smarts when it came to Freddy, right? The booby traps and all that shit, realizing that she could pull him out of the dreams, telling everybody, hey, I know who's killing off all these people. Let's take a moment to do the same for Kirsty real quick, because Kirsty literally makes a deal with the devil. Like, in the first Hellraiser, like, they know Frank escaped, and Kirsty, like, that's her uncle, and she's like, hey, I know where he's at. And making a deal with him, and she doesn't just do it once either. That's the fucking crazy part. Like, this chick was smart enough to outplay Pinhead and the Cenobites almost every time that she meets them, and it's insane. And like, that's why she's so deserving on this spot. um
So
Especially,
for me, in the one, what did you say? It was number 6 or Hellseeker?
yeah,
That
Hellseeker
one.
is the one right after Inferno.
That I know not a lot of people like that, but I really liked it because it brought her back into it. And like you were saying, the smarts on her and everything. So on that one is when I really appreciate her as a survivor, right? Because it was so skilled and you got it at the end to where you think, like, you don't know what's going on with this dude, right? Until they start wrapping it all up. And then you realize that not only was her husband, because it was her husband, cheating on her with someone else, but they were planning on opening the box to get her out of the picture, and like this big old thing. So she not only sets up again like she did in the first one and going to do the tricking, but she ended up trading her life for like an
For
additional,
his.
what was it, like 5 of them in that one?
Yeah, which is why everything was happening as it was happening. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't even know it was her until the end. That was the beautiful part, because we hear about how this guy's wife like died or was drowning or something like that, right? Because of that whole car
Yeah.
wreck and shit off the cliff. But what we don't realize is the fact that it was Kirsty, and like, yeah, she made another deal with Pinhead and the Cenobites and gave them more souls, including her husband's. And excuse me.
And the girl he was cheating with, and another lady, like the neighbor or something, because he was like kind of a whore. So I think there was
Yeah,
like 2 of them or something like that, and then like another character. And I just love that scene whenever you figure it out, and he, like when he remembers, and first it shows her really upset, like how could you? And I told you all this stuff, and so you really see him as this really bad guy, and she's kind of like weak, but then you see it and she sets up this whole deal, and then you're like, there she is. So
yeah,
that's one I think is where she really shines on that. I like what they did with her character in that one.
I agree, and I like that they don't take away from her how she was like in the first movie, making deals like that. Like, this bitch is cunning, and like, I wouldn't want to fuck over Kirsty, man. Like, hell no, because she's just gonna fucking get Pinhead after you. So she's obviously, again, definitely in my opinion, in our opinion, she deserves to be on a top 10 list as far as survivors go, because she is a survivor in every sense of it, man. Her ass could have been tortured in the bowels of hell, but she knows what's up and she knows what to do.
And
So
Pinhead and the Cenobites haven't gotten to her, so
I think Pinhead might have a crush on her. Like, man, this girl, damn, like to have her play with my puzzle box. Um, But yeah, so there we go, guys. Kirsty Cotton from Hellraiser 1, 2, and 6. Next up on the list, going back to the Nightmare franchise, because it's the Nightmare franchise and
yay,
it's fucking
yay.
amazing. Second best franchise in horror movies, in my opinion, just below Halloween. So we're going with Alice. Alice from Nightmares 4 and 5. Beth, I'll go ahead and let you roll with this one real quick.
So Alice is fun because, it starts out where she's really like timid and shy, and, she's just a daydreamer having to deal with a drunken, kind of mentally abusive dad and so on. So she's very like presenting of that. But what's really cool with this is she changes throughout the movie. And I know that a huge part of it is because she takes on the personalities of each death of her friends. She takes each one on, and I know that that's part of it, but I think a lot of it is just what she had to deal with in the movie too. And it's kind of fun because that's what you go through in life. You deal with traumas, you deal with tragedies, you deal with all of that stuff, and it changes you. And so she's going throughout this whole movie changing, and then at the end she's totally badass and kicking Freddy's ass. And then in the next movie she continues on that, like she's paying attention and she's like no, and she's already ready to fight because Freddy's trying to take over her kid. You don't take over someone's kid. So she's ready to go, and so I think she's really good, and she didn't die either, so technically
Big
she's
plus.
still out there as well. So it's a good one.
Definitely a big plus. So Alice, like how you mentioned, like I love the fact that like when everyone's dying, she's like absorbing their essence and in some cases their powers. Like the acrobatics of Kirsten and Kincaid's strength and Joey's squealing and just everybody. And then like I can't remember the little nerdy girl, but like
Sheila.
Sheila, there we go, the mind over matter. And
Mm-hmm.
she winds up getting like she has her little thing that she made for bug zapping, and her brother Rick, who's probably my favorite fucking character
Oh
in
yeah.
part
Oh
four.
yeah.
I love Rick in part four, and his death. Even as much as I love him, I love his death too. When Freddy does the whole "Sayonara, son," like Like that shit just makes me laugh. But yeah, like she's awesome. Like she
Yeah, she
literally,
takes on the karate skills, and then Deb's like exercise, the weight
yeah,
training, the strength.
yeah. It's like so like I that's why I like her so much because like you guys have heard us talk about character development, right? And the worst to best for Halloween, you heard us talk a lot about character development for certain characters, and in this one, I definitely think that Alice has some of the best character development. Just throughout that first movie, just throughout four, she has fucking phenomenal character development. And then you go into five, and like, so yeah, she knows Freddy's gone, but she's still ready. You know, she's like talking about how she's had dreams where she felt like she wasn't controlled the first time. And, you know, when Freddy does start appearing, like, she's ready to fucking rock, you
Yeah,
know,
she's
and
ready,
she's trying to
and she's
ward
ready
everyone.
to fight. Like she's such a completely different person in five because, like Dan's parents, right, doesn't think that she's fit to be a mother, and they're going to try to take her baby away from her, and she's ready to fight with them. You know, she's
Yeah.
like, no, that ain't going to happen, and you know, so going from the very beginning of four and seeing, like I said, how timid she was and the daydreaming, and she's just really quiet and you know, kind of shied away and everything to, you know, taking on, you know, Dan's parents of like, no, this isn't going to happen.
Yep.
So,
And up until that point, up until part five, actually up until New Nightmare, technically, Alice was the only person to beat Freddy two times and survive both times. Because if you think about it, Nancy got him in the first one. She dies in part three.
yeah.
Kirsty beats him in part three, dies in part four. Alice beats him in part four and beats him in part five. And then she just rides off at the sunset because part six, she's not in it.
Yeah.
So that's something really cool to think about too, because Alice is the only person to do that. If we're counting New Nightmare, then when they bring Nancy back and then she beats him again,
And she has to play Nancy again, then
yeah.
yeah.
But so depending on how you look at it, like Alice is badass. Like and for me personally, in the Nightmare series, I think she would be like the ultimate survivor girl out of the Nightmare series, just considering the fact that like she never lets up, she never lets Freddy beat her. You know, she keeps going, and she saves her child in part five in the end. You know, she's smart enough to know how to do that. She knows how to find Amanda Kruger's tomb and all that shit. Like they're like how her and the her best friend in part five work together. I
Hmm.
love that. You know, while and this is like after her fiance gets killed in one of the most badass scenes ever. But you know, after that and after her friends get killed, Greta and Mark and all these people are getting offed, and she's still like just fucking focused on this, like wanting to beat Freddy, and she
Yeah, and
does.
everybody telling her that she's crazy
She's like, "Fuck
and
you
all of that
guys."
stuff. Yeah, yeah. So it's such a huge change. So it does really well, and she did. She's still alive technically. If they made another movie, she's still alive out there in that world.
Exactly. If they ever wanted to bring her back in some Freddy movie, they could. It'd be pretty badass to see her back. Um, but yeah, guys, that's why she's in here, and like, rightfully so, definitely rightfully so. And just like I said about Nancy, if she's not in a top 10 for best survivors, then it's not a top 10 at all because she is very deserving of being in a top 10 spot. Coming in after Alice is going to be Andy from Child's Play 1, 2, 3, Curse and Cult. He's in everything. He's in the
Yeah.
majority of them. Holy fuck. Beth, go ahead and take it away.
You know what? I love Andy. So you go in the first movie, this cute little kid, and he's a cute little kid, and you're kind of wondering because that's how they kind of play it out. You're kind of wondering if he's a psycho, right? You know, you're like, okay, is this kid the one doing all these killings? And then, you know, and then they kind of reveal it. But cute little kid, and the second one, you know, okay, he's getting a little whiny and stuff. But then as it goes on, he still becomes like he morphs into this really badass character. To my favorite scene, the cut scene at the end of was
Curse?
it Cult? Where
Curse?
he was it Cursed? Yeah, the cut scene where they have Andy in it.
Yeah, that's when they first show adult Andy was at the end of Curse. And
Okay,
that
yeah, and the
cutscene, that
cut
little
scene, yes.
teaser.
So you see him morph from this tiny little kid that was a victim to, all right, starting to morph slowly at the end of that movie, and then on the additional ones to that cutscene where he already knows he's ready. He's ready. He ain't gonna play, and he pulls out that rifle and everything. It was beautiful. I love that scene. And then goes into the next one, you know, where he has like Chucky's head on on the wood thing, and he's like torturing him and everything. So they really did develop that one really well. I love Andy. Like he's a fun character. I'm glad they kept him, and he's still alive as well.
Exactly.
So I love how they kept him. I love how they continued with that, and it's fun.
Andy, I mean, they're just Andy has some of the best elements of each person that we've already talked about. He's a kid. He starts off as a kid, just like the Losers Club. You know, getting tortured by this fucking killer doll. You know, Charles Lee Ray, Chucky. And just seeing his character development too. Like this kid, I didn't like him so much in the first movie. We've already done this. We've already talked about the worst and best for Chucky, and how I don't think the original Chucky is the best. I will say part two is probably the best. It'll always be between that and Bride, in my opinion. Um, but just seeing how he goes from that kid in part one, and then part two, you see him a little bit tougher, you know, ready to go. He knows what's up. And then you come to part three, and he's in boot camp, even though it's not the same actor. Um, you know,
But
being
yeah, that's where they messed up. But
yeah, it's not the same
yeah.
actor, but it is Andy. And you know, he's in boot camp trying to do that shit, and you see like he's not putting up with it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then flashback after Bride and after Seed, and you go into Colt, or not Colt, but Curse. And then I didn't even realize it. Like I completely fucking forgot that he was in it in the end credits. And I was like, holy shit, man, look at that. He's still ready to roll after all these years. And then when we go into Cult of Chucky and you see him there, like how she said, you know, with the doll and everything else on the fucking like little wood slab and torturing him and fucking with him, and Chucky's talking shit to him. And how he's just ready, man. Like he's like, I
Yeah,
know
he's
it's
not
gonna
having
happen.
it. He's talking shit right back. Like it's beautiful. I love it. And it's funny because that was my favorite of Curse was the cutscene. Like that was
Yeah,
my all-time favorite. I got excited. I was like, look, it's Andy. So he's a great survivor. I love that character.
yeah, definitely. And again, he is a survivor. He's yet to die, which is fucking hella impressive because normally survivors will typically die sometime down the road, which we'll talk about in a few minutes when we get to a few of these other ones. So, you know, the fact that Andy, after all these years, he's still going, that's fucking impressive. Definitely deserving to be in the top 10 slot. Coming in after Andy, we are talking about all genres of horror. This also includes sci fi horror. So, Ellen Ripley from the Alien franchise, you guys know her. I know her. Sigourney Weaver is fucking badass. There's no doubt in my mind. Like, I was even before we were making this list, I was actually trying to think. I was like, who am I missing? Who am I missing? Who am I missing? And I'm going through, and I was like, Ellen fucking Ripley. Like, she has to be on this list because this bitch is like, she literally fought aliens that, like, how? I just
Right.
how? you
And how
know?
you didn't think that she was the one that was gonna be the survivor either, because it didn't look like it was gonna pan that way. And sure enough, there you go. And you said Sigourney Weaver. That's it.
Yeah, like,
That's all you need to say.
and she's in almost like every fucking alien movie, which is fucking phenomenal, you know? I mean, I know some of them are questionable, you know, and she was like, what, impregnated with an alien or some shit like that, or not impregnated or like popped out of an alien. I don't fucking remember. But like, she's just badass, you know? And like, I love how later on in the series, like, one of the aliens she has like a connection with. It's almost like, you know, she's acting like it's her mother or something, and Ripley's playing into that, and I think that's fucking cool. So yeah, like I fucking I love Ellen Ripley. Like, there's I'm not gonna get into like all the crazy crap about her, but I mean she was the first one to beat the aliens, and like we're not talking about, you know, a dream demon or a human or somewhat human that you could realistically probably beat, but you're talking about a human going against this fucking creature, this alien that is like a hybrid who hunts you down and like plants alien eggs in your belly and makes them pop out your fucking chest while you're eating food. And is just, it's crazy. And, you know, she was the first person to realize that, first person able to fucking beat them and then continue to beat them. And so that's why she's on this list for me. You have anything else left to say about Ellen Ripley?
Sigourney Weaver. That's it. That's all that needs to
Exactly.
be said.
Exactly. Like, it's just, it's way too much to talk about. So we're not going to. So going in next, now we're getting into my favorite franchise. Coming in next in this top 10 list is going to be the one, the only Jamie Lloyd. Yeah, that's right. I know what you guys thought I was going to say. That's later. But Jamie Lloyd, Jamie fucking Lloyd. You guys know who it is. We just talked about her in the worst to best. Danielle Harris. As a little girl, again, we're going back to a kid survivor, going up against her uncle, if you go with that timeline. But yeah, like Jamie Lloyd. I mean, come on, man. Fucking little girl who's able to hang with Michael Myers. You know, she's smart enough to, and like not just against Michael too, but like when she's freaking out in part 4 where she's going trick or treating, and like I mentioned this in the Halloween worst to best, and she's like, "Whoever you are, I have a big dog with me, and he bites." I'm like, that's a smart fucking kid. I'm sorry, but it is like kids need to take note to that because that was ingenious. You know, even though she doesn't, the fact that she's saying it, that's good. You know, and while she was terrified of her uncle at the same time, you know, she was strong for a kid, you know. She really was. Like, there's no other way I can really say it. In part 4, especially, she was strong for a kid. In part 5, you guys already know how I feel about that movie.
Yeah, we already discussed that.
I don't like her being a mute and all that shit. But again, you know, she's in that movie. She's more freaked out about him. You know, like she knows he's coming and she knows and she's freaking out more. I definitely like her more in part 4. Like, definitely. What about you?
Um, well, I love Danielle Harris, and you know that because I said it a lot in the last video. I like her in 4. I like 4. I don't really like 5. I don't think I've even seen it fully, completely, all the way through because it's a hard watch for me. It's a hard watch for me.
One of the worst.
And then the only thing I don't like about her character in 6 is that it's not Danielle Harris. So, but you know, she's still ready. She's still going off and stuff. And I don't know if I said it or not, how she's like trying to reach out for him in 6. You know, when she's on her death scene and she's trying to reach out. Don't know if I fully care for that, but it did clap back to the other scene when Michael Myers was doing that for her. So it worked, but you know, she's really good. I have to agree with you though. 4.
Yeah, I
She's the
think
best in 4.
definitely the best in 4. I didn't like her in 6. I agree with what you said about it not being Danielle Harris. The only other reason why I don't like her in 6 is because she dies. You know, so she's a survivor girl for 2/3 of the movies that she's in. So good job with that. You know, um, definitely gets points. But yeah, you know, in part 4, I really definitely like her more in part 4 because she's a little bit smarter. Part 5, she's more mute. Yeah, she still whines, and it's not even her, in my opinion, that really beats her uncle in part 4. That was Loomis's plan. You know, Loomis is just sick and tired of Michael, and so he uses her as a fucking trap.
Yeah.
And so I definitely like that, but I think that was more so Loomis. But Jamie Lloyd still deserves to be in a top 10 list, given that this is a kid going against the boogeyman, not one, but 2 times. And then
And she
again,
made it out.
she's older and almost outsmarted him. She still had the smarts in part 6. Like, y'all know how I feel about part 6. Part 6 is my personal favorite Halloween movie. And I love what she does. Like, I love that she keeps the baby away. I love that for the most part, she almost got away from him. Like, she
She
was
did.
doing really good.
But the
But
most important thing on that one is that she wanted to protect her baby.
yeah,
And she
exactly.
did.
She did.
And she did that. So there you
So
go.
again, kudos to her. Definitely reason why she's on here. Guys, I apologize for my screen when it breaks up. I'm using a little background for Skype, and I thought it would be funny, but it's starting to annoy me a little bit. So please forgive the. Oh, it doesn't do it that time. Fuck you. There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, so moving along, after Jamie Lloyd, Danielle Harris, the most awesomest badass ever, almost. We are going to go into another guy. And this time we're going to hit, we haven't forgotten about the Friday the 13th franchise, don't worry. So, next up on the list, in my opinion, one of the best, probably in the top 3 best survivors, and this is why I wanted him specifically near the end of this video, is Tommy Jarvis. Again, it seems like a broken record. He starts off as a kid. And we want to talk how genius this little bastard was. Okay, so he was already making masks and all that, right? And he is already a really big nerd and all that, which I mean, nerds survive things for some reason. But when I just want to jump right into it. Okay, I want to jump right into the fact that like in the first movie that he's in, because I believe he's in 4, 5, and 6, if I remember correctly, it's 4, 5, and 6. That's the Jarvis trilogy. And when he's a kid in that first one, and Jason's coming, he's smart. Like, you want to talk about the smarts of these kids. He chops all of his hair off. He makes himself look like Jason when Jason was a kid. And it gets in Jason's head. That is fucking impressive. But Jason has a weakness for this. I'm not going to lie. He does. You look back at, like, what was it? Part 2, when the chick puts his mom's sweater on and like messes with her hair, Jason's like, huh? So that was perfect.
Well, Jason is just like a man-child. Like, he's just a huge kid. Like, he died when he was a kid. He comes back as not exactly as like zombie Jason. He comes back as a grown-ass man, but he still has the mind of a child. So he's just a grown man-child. So it wouldn't surprise me that he'd easily get thrown off by stuff like that.
Like, what? You're me? But yeah, but Tommy Jarvis is smart enough to pull that off, and that's fucking amazing. And then, Tommy Jarvis is in that really rare category where he never dies. He goes through 4, 5, and 6. It's literally like kid, teenager, adult. And he never dies. Like, he beats Jason all of those times. Although technically one of them wasn't Jason, and I know some people are going to give shit because in part 5 it was Roy and not Jason, but still Roy was badass with what he did. Okay, I actually liked Roy. I like how he did that, and I liked his motive. But still, the fact that Tommy Jarvis, from that kid part, and then you see him in part 5, and he's kind of a mute, he doesn't really talk, but he fights. And he'll like kick your ass. Like, he doesn't care who you are. And like, that's why he's so badass. And then when he's an adult, like he knows Jason's on it. He's like, I want to make sure this motherfucker's dead. And it's technically his fault that Jason comes back in part 6 because welcome back, dum dum. But he makes up for it. And I love Tommy Jarvis. I really do. He's easily one of my favorites. What about you, Beth? Say some of your favorite things about our boy.
Oh my goodness. So I don't know if you've played the Friday the 13th game.
Of course.
But I was so excited that they put his, oh my gosh, wait, take a drink. It becomes part of your background. I love that.
That's awesome. Green screen. It's a green bottle.
And it says monsters over it, so it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love how they put him in there. I got really excited, and they make him just as badass on there as they do in the movies, the adult one. So I actually really like how they put him in the game. Like how he is, and he run around and, play that character. I think everybody wanted to be that character.
Oh, yeah.
On there. So, and then the actor, I love that actor. Is it Tom Matthews?
I believe.
Right? So that came out on Return of the Living Dead, one of my favorite movies. So perfect. So I like the adult one more.
So do I. I love the kid one. Don't get me wrong. I love all of them. Like, every version of Tommy Jarvis is a badass, and it's like he always knew what to do. Like, he was ready for this. And he evolves. Like, I love him when he's going against Roy. Like near the end, he's like hiding, and then he comes out and starts fighting him because he thinks it's Jason. And then yeah, like I love how he takes out Jason in part 6 when he's on the boat and he uses the gasoline to do the fire. I always thought that was a bunch of bullshit. I always thought you couldn't do that until I did it one day. It's legit. You can't do it. Gas is technically buoyant, so it works. In case anybody ever wants to know, it works. And I love that, the Ring of Fire, and fucking Jason popping up and fucking just wrapping the chain around him and all this shit. I was like, hell yeah. Like, fuck yeah, that was cool as shit. He's smart enough to do it. And but yeah, man. Don't try that at home.
I was saying you would.
I had to. I wanted to see if it worked. It's like some Mythbuster shit. I was like, there ain't no way that works. And then I was wrong. It works. So
yes,
touche.
please don't do that.
Yeah, don't try that at home, kids.
Don't follow in his footsteps, please.
Okay, coming in after Jarvis, we got 2 more people to talk about real quick.
Okay, this one, you got to go for it, dude.
Okay.
That's all you.
So next up on the list, which some people might be shocked that this isn't the last person I talk about, but there's a reason why. Get back there. So next up on the list is my personal favorite. It is Sheriff Brackett. Just playing. I love Sheriff Brackett, but it's not Sheriff Brackett. It is Laurie Strode. Laurie Strode is up next. I mean, you can't, again, just like I said about Nancy, just like I said about Tommy Jarvis and a few other people, you can't have a top 10 list with Survivor persons and not have Laurie fucking Strode on this list.
Yeah, she shouldn't be on the list.
I'll fight you to the death.
Look how easy it was to piss him off.
Yeah, see?
No, not good character. Jamie Lee Curtis just didn't do a good job. And it's just all the movies are just so horrible. I hate Halloween. Such a horrible series. If you agree, continue in the comments. Maybe we can make Jeff cry.
I'll hunt you all down. Anyway, before y'all try to make me mad and talking about my girl that way. So Laurie Strode, okay? So I'm going to throw the obvious out there. Yes, in one movie, she does die. It's the worst movie of the franchise. We've already discussed this.
Mm-hmm.
She does die in the worst movie in the franchise.
In the worst way, too. I just didn't like that. Okay, but not to get on that again.
And we're not talking about the bitchy Laurie Strode from the Rob Zombie remakes either. We're not talking about her. We're talking about Jamie Lee Curtis, the Scream Queen. One of, technically, if you want to be technical. She's fucking amazing. Okay? In the first movie, again, I'm not going to say she was the greatest Survivor chick ever. She wasn't, by any stretch of the imagination. Okay? She's a traumatized victim who just, she found her friends all dead. This guy's coming after her, trying to fucking kill her. She somehow actually turns into a little survivor near the end, shanks him in the neck, shanks him in the eye, what are those? The sewing needle in the neck and the coat hanger in the eye. Like, she turns into that survivor person near the end of that first movie, and she's just a regular person. She's just a babysitter. And then you go into Halloween 2. We're going to keep on before the remake, or not the remake, but the continuance of the original. You go into Halloween 2. While she's not really in it much, well, she is, but she's not because she's in the bed the majority of the time. When she does finally start getting around, when we first start really seeing her do something, was during the surprise finger in the butt, which we already know about. We've already talked about it. And, you see her, and she just starts, going. And it's not really her in that one either. A lot of people are like, and I agree with you. She's not really like the main survivor chick in that movie. Like, she is, but Loomis is the one who beats Michael, right? And Loomis is a part of this talk as well, okay? Loomis counts. Loomis definitely counts in this talk. So when I talk about Laurie, I'm talking about Laurie and Loomis. And, but then you get all the way to H2O, okay? Actually, let's not go all the way to H2O. So first go back to 4, like we've already discussed. And she fakes her death, okay? Then H2O, and she's alive and well, talks about how she faked her death to get away from her fucking brother, all that bullshit. And she's paranoid, and she's a drunk. But then near the end of the movie is when she becomes the Laurie, like the best Laurie, second best Laurie. And I love that. Like, I love that scene. Like, we've already talked about it. When she screams for Michael's name, holding that axe, and actually goes hunting for him was fucking phenomenal. Just like you guys have heard us talk about H2O with the ending. Best fucking ending in a Halloween movie. Period. That's how it should have ended.
Yeah, they could have
And
stopped there.
yeah, they definitely should have. We all are in agreement of this. Like that head chopping, fuck Resurrection. And like that's when you see the real character change. But then we go to 2018 and erase all this shit, okay, except for the first one. This is my favorite Laurie. Because this Laurie is waiting. She's ready. She's like, I'm gonna fuck this fucker up. And like that's badass. Like we see her being just the schoolgirl from the original to I am gonna light this ass up. And like I love that, man. Like she does too. She does. Like she's smart enough to get her kid ready, even though her kid's stupid and doesn't think Michael's ever gonna come back. Ha! Got proven wrong there, didn't you, bitch? And your husband's dead. But like now, like Laurie is just she is damn near the perfect Survivor girl in my opinion. If we take away the other movies and just go part one in 2018, in my opinion, she is definitely one of the best. There's only one person in my opinion that is remotely better than her. And it's just because like she knew. She fucking knew. She didn't ease up. She was like, "Oh, he's gone. I'm never gonna worry about him again." She was ready. And it's phenomenal, you know, and how she fights him, no matter what movie you look at, how she fights him, how she goes against him, it's so it's realistic. You know, it's realistic. It's like, yeah, I could do that. You know, she could do that. All you got to do is just, you know, finally lose your shit a little bit. So that's
I'm
why she's
already on the way there.
right. Do you have anything you would like to say?
Are you done? Are you sure? Are you sure?
I could be done.
Are you positive?
I could be done with this one. I already spent like almost 3 hours talking about her.
Okay, so I love her in H2O, and I talked about it in the last video. I love that. I love the ending. It's perfect. She was ready to go. A little bit of a lush in that movie, but can't blame her. So I do like her in H2O a lot. And I agree with what you said on the first and second one, you know, because that's kind of like creating her character. So I agree with you there. And then four, you know, I disagree. I think that four, they killed her off and we're on a different timeline when it comes to H2O. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that part and go straight to H2O, which you guys all know is one of my favorites. And I really liked her there. The ending was perfect. And I agree with you. So my favorite is the Halloween 18. Like she's perfect there. It's exactly what you would have expected her character to turn into. Like they did such a good job with her character in that movie, and I agree. There you go. That one's I actually agree with you, Jeff.
Okay. Coming in at the last slot, guys, in this video, we are going to talk about it. You probably all are wondering, why the fuck haven't I mentioned this person? Well, I am. Don't worry right now. Sidney Prescott from Scream series, not just one movie, but in all the fucking movies. The only thing she's not in is the TV show. But Sidney Prescott, in my opinion, this might shock some of you. In my opinion, she's the ultimate survivor. She has not survived one, not two, not three, but four fucking movies. About to be five more than likely when Scream 5 comes out. And you want to talk about character development? There's no fucking better, in my opinion. I honestly think that Sidney Prescott, from the first Scream all the way to 4, has done nothing but that. Especially from in the first Scream, you know, she's so focused on her mom and all that shit that happened, and you know, doesn't know what the fuck's going on, right? You know,
Yeah,
somebody's coming
just
after her
dealing
and her
with
friends.
yeah.
And then you see her in part 2. She knows what's going on. You know, at first she thinks it might be a prank, but then she realizes it's starting to happen. And, you know, you see her start becoming that survivor girl, like really becoming this person. Like she's ready to go. And then in 3, you can tell she's already starting to get tired of this shit. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
she was out in hiding. You know, they had her in the witness protection program. She had to go start a whole new life over. She wasn't going by Sidney Prescott and all that until they reached out to her and she finally said, "Fuck this, let's go." You know, after they kind of figured out where the killer was, who winds up being her brother. Um, he finds out where she's at. But then you go to part 4, and you know,
she's over it at that point. Like once it starts again, she's just like, oh, whatever.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, like with part 4, this is, if there was like the definition of like somebody who's gotten over it, it's her, because now she's like making books about it, you know, and she's talking about how she survived so others could survive, and she put it all behind her. You know, she thinks it's finally done and puts it all behind her. And then when you find out, surprise, bitch, you know, it's one of your family members again, you know.
And see, I like that too, though, because she turns around and she's even looking at her like, you're dumb.
Right? Like, seriously?
Like, really? Seriously? You know, and she kind of has that tone, and I love that. I love her attitude. Even way from the first movie at the end where she's like, not my movie. You know, I love her attitude, and I love that it continued on in each one and just grew a little bit more. And so when we get to that last one, she's like talking to her niece. She's just like, what? Are you serious? That's stupid.
Yeah, and it's just so badass. Like, and like, not taking anything away from anybody else, because like Sydney has a great supporting cast too. Like she has Gail Weathers, and she has Dewey Riley, and then you know she does have Randy up until midway or so of the second movie.
Why
which
do you
sucks.
have to keep bringing that up?
Because I like hurting myself. But like yeah, she's always had like a really good supporting cast too. But like, it's ultimately her. Like when we talk about her, we're not talking about all of them. We're just talking about her because come the end of the day, like all these other ones have gotten fucked up. You know, Dewey's been stabbed, Gail's been stabbed. You know, they've both gotten fucked up, but she's the only one that's just like, let's fucking go, you know. And
well, on the fourth one though, Gail did kind of like she was there with her at the end.
Yeah.
So that
like they're trying to set
really
up that whole thing.
Yeah, it works really well, but she doesn't have. You know, Gail had the same attitude from the very beginning. You know, she was known as like a bitch, and that was it. But with Sydney, it was just, I don't know, it's a different type of attitude. And I love her attitude.
I think her attitude is literally, if there is like a definition of the survivor girl attitude, survivor person's attitude, I think she is the embodiment of it. You know, because like even in the first movie, you know, she's already going through shit. Before all this shit starts, you know, it's her whole mom. You know, her mom was dead like a year. It was a year since her mom's passing. She's still struggling with it, you know, and all that shit. And it just keeps going. And so she's already like at that stage where she's just like, fuck this shit, man. But as she's surviving that, you know, because that's really hard because her mother was killed.
Yeah.
And the same people who killed her mom are trying to kill her now.
Yeah, every few years she's like getting attacked by somebody new.
Somebody. All revolving around the same fucking thing except for part 4, which is why I like part 4 so much. Because like in the first movie, it's her boyfriend and her boyfriend's best friend, you know. Boyfriend's
because
daddy.
Of the mom.
Yeah. And then the second one, it was Billy Loomis's mom. And in the third one, it was her brother, and her brother was the one who sent Billy and Stu to go kill her mom. And like, it's just so much shit.
Yeah, because of the mom again, and.
But then in part 4, it's just like, I just want to be like you.
I just want to be famous.
Right.
And I love how they did that too, because with Scream, like you said, it kind of goes with each generation, and that was a huge thing right there, was social media and wanting to, you know, be famous and stuff like that. So it worked perfectly, and that's why I liked her reaction to it too, as someone that would be, you know, considered an older generation and everything, and she's looking at her like, really? So I love that. I love her attitude, and I like how they made her grow through each movie.
Definitely agree. But I have absolutely nothing else to say about that. I think we've covered everything. What do you think?
I think so. And if we forgot anything, we probably said it in the Scream Worst to Best.
More than likely. Or the Halloween Worst to Best, or the Child's Play Worst to Best, or any other ones that we fucking done. So yeah, references all over the place, guys. But I hope you've enjoyed this top 10 survivor persons If you guys feel anybody else should be in here, obviously you know what to do. Let us know. Slash our Facebook, email down here in the comments thing.
In the comments, and
Insta,
if we
Twitter,
get
whatever.
enough, we'll make another one.
Yay! But there you go, guys. For the Horror Fiend, this channel, I'm Jeff. That's me, and that's Beth. That's her.
That's me. I'm Beth.
I think so. Hey, you guys. Later. Bye. See you later. Yowie wowie.